and start sharing. Here we are. Yeah, I think we are good now. Excellent. So, namaste and welcome again. And maybe before I start talking and telling you about all these amazing principles of Ayurveda, maybe we can just take a moment to arrive and to take a deep breath together. And just take a moment just to arrive here, to be here. So we can use the out breath to let go of anything that we don't need right now. So we can focus and learn. And we can just receive whatever we need today to receive. And just taking another deep breath in. And you can even sigh, and when you're ready, just open your eyes and you can look at the screen. So the big question is, who am I? And for some people might be like, oh, well, I am, and then you can finish that sentence with your name, with your profession. But maybe there's something else, and is this question that has been in a history of thought, a history of humanity. Who I am, where am I coming from, where am I going? So we are going to see why this question is important in Ayurveda and why it's important in your health and why it's so important to know who you are in order to stay healthy and stay healthy in order to be who you are. So it's a full circle in order to live the life that you're supposed to live here, to use to your maximum purpose and to just be who you are. So right. So in Ayurveda, and this is in a nutshell, because I could be talking about this for ages, really, you can go as in depth as you want, but I'm going to make it very practical today. So in Ayurveda, everything is the combination of three doshas, is what we call doshas. And always in Sanskrit, you have these wonderful words that when you try to translate them into English, you just need 3 volumes to translate them. But doshas means is your constitution, but it's an energy as well. But it's not just subtle energy, but it's biological energy. So it's biological, it's physiological, it's psychological, mental, and spiritual energy. And everything, absolutely everything that exists is a combination of those 3 doshas, absolutely everything: vata, pitta, kapha. And the beautiful thing of this these 3 dosha is that we all have a different percentage of each one of those energies. And the objective when we talk about balance is not to have a third of vata, a third of pitta, a third of kapha. Would all be the same, and it'd be a very boring world. So it's the constitution that is your unique constitution. This is what it means to be balanced, to go back to what you are, what you were given the moment of conception. And I'll talk about this a little bit further down the line. So these are these are the 3 doshas, the vata, the pitta, the kapha, and I'll explain a little bit more what they are. So these doshas are made of different elements, and probably you've heard of the theory of elements, and it's very common in Chinese medicine as well, and many Eastern traditions. So we say that the vata dosha, the energy is made of ether or space and air. The pitta dosha is made of fire and water, and the kapha dosha is made of earth and water. And all these sound so poetic and so nice, but what does that really mean? What does that really mean to have air in my body, to have ether in my body, to have fire? How does that translate into a language that that we can understand? So let me just go. So if you look at here in the human body, if you think of, for example, everything that is mobile, everything that is spacious, that is your vata. So the energy that makes you breathe in and out, that is your vata. The energy that makes everything move around in your blood circulation, that is your vata. The energy that makes just let go of what you need to let go after your digestion process, and is your vata pushing down apana vayu. Your pitta is your fire. Where do you need the fire in your body? In your metabolism, with your enzymes, in your stomach, in your small intestine. And your kapha is the water and the earth. Earth, you can find earth in your structure, in your bones, is what gives you stability, in the more dense energy in your body. And here we have an example in this picture where all the three vatas sit in the body. So the three doshas, sorry. So these doshas, these energies sit in these different places. Vata dosha mainly in the colon, and pitta dosha in the stomach and in the small intestine, and the kapha dosha in the lungs. And I will explain later on that there's a reason why they're there. And if those doshas go out of balance, they're going to just bring some symptoms. And if those little symptoms, nagging symptoms, are not taken care of, then it can become something worse, like an illness. But the doshas live in those three places I've explained, and when they are too much and when they are beyond that place where they normally live is when they produce some problems. So if we go back, these are three concepts of Ayurveda that when you will have the recording, so you can look at this as well, because it might take a while sometimes to get your head around. But it's very useful. And the first one is what we call the 20 Gunas. And the 20 Gunas is the 20 qualities. And if you look on the left, then you have cold and the opposite. So everything in life are two opposites. And it's this concept of spanda, this yogic concept of pulsation. We move from one to the other. So cold and hot, oily and dry, heavy and light, gross and subtle, dense and liquid, soft and hard, static, mobile, sticky, clear, slimy, rough, slow, sharp. So these are all qualities that everything that exists have. So when you think of the 5 elements that we've talked about, the ether, the air, the fire, the water, and the earth, and the characteristics of those of those elements. So if you think of space, so space, if you look at the list here, so probably it's not going to be very dense. It's going to be very subtle. It's not going to be very gross. If you think of air, exactly the same. It's going to be mobile. It's not going to be stagnant. But if you think of earth, that is going to be more solid. So if you think of fire, that is going to be clearly hot and not cold. But the wind is going to be cold. The earth is going to be cold. So when we associate those elements with these qualities is when we can understand Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And by all means, you don't even need to really 100% know what you are in order to follow a healthy Ayurvedic lifestyle. If you have a look at the Gunas, if you have a look at these different qualities. So we know that like attracts like, but also that all these different characteristics are balanced by the opposite. So if you're very cold, you're going to get warm, get a blanket, get something warm. If you feel very hot, you might want a cold shower. So it's so common sense. In Ayurveda, that's what it is, really very much common sense. But very surprisingly, we tend to always do the opposite with this like attract like, and then we get out of balance. So if you think of Vata, for example, Vata is the energy of movement and is form of air and ether. if your vata is what is out of balance, and we'll know in a minute what that means, then your characteristics will be cold and dry and light and subtle, clear, flowing, hard, rough, mobile. Therefore, if you have a vata constitution or a vata imbalance and you want to balance out, what you need is the opposite. You need to bring food, you need to bring exercise, you need to bring experiences that have the opposite qualities. So for example, in terms of food, if you are vata and a characteristic is cold, then salads are not good for you. And dry crackers are not good for you. Subtle things are not good for you. You need more nourishment. You need root vegetables. You need something that's going to sit, that's going to give you more stability. And we have a look at Pitta, fire and water. So if your characteristics are being hot, for example, for Pitta people, chilies are not very good and probably are very attracted to chilies, but chilies are not very balancing. For Kapha is cold, wet, heavy. Kapha is very heavy. If your dosha, main dosha or imbalance is Kapha, any food that is going to be exactly cold, wet, heavy, think of ice cream, that is not going to be good for you, especially for Kapha, because, well, ice cream is not really good for anyone, but as Dr. Vasan Lat says, it's not even a food, but it's yummy. So sometimes we are forgiven because you have to live and you have to enjoy life as well. But if you want to balance your Kapha, then probably the salads are good for you, or something that's a little bit lighter, or the soups are good for you. So this is the great gift of the theory of the doshas, is that they tell you that you are different and you are unique. Ayurveda tells you that you are unique, and the diet that works for you is not going to work for somebody else. And the more you know about your constitution, about your imbalances, the more you'll be able to self-heal. You don't need anyone else to tell you what to eat, what not to eat. You will know, your body will know. So I've told you about this, and this is just to have an idea. Now we look into patterns and what it looks like to have a vata body, a pitta body, a kapha body. And so I'll explain a little bit later, but you can see how you can probably recognize yourself in one of those body constitutions. But doshas are not only body constitutions, it's much more, it's much deeper, and it goes to your personality, but it goes to the world where you live, and it goes to it's just never ending study. Okay, so for that reason, I want to introduce you to these two concepts, the Prakruti and the Vikruti. The Prakruti means your unique constitution is a combination of vata, pitta, kapha that you were given when you were conceived, and is a mix of everything that was happening there, from the constitution of your parents, from the weather, where you were born, the stars. there's it's just this unique combination, and it's only yours. So even, let's say you're a vata pitta person, not two vata pitta people are going to be exactly the same. And this combination is so unique. That's who you are. And even though you don't have the three of these doshas at the same level, what you have is a predominance of one or two, which gives you your superpowers. And I will tell you what those superpowers are in a minute. And this is going to be aligned to what you are here for. What is your purpose in life? So if your purpose in life is to be, for example, a very nice manager, very caring and loving manager, then you need your kapha, because that's what kapha people are. If you need to be somebody who is prime minister, well, you need your pitta, because you need to get things done. You need that fire, you need that drive. Vata is for artists. If you're an artist, you're going to need that creativity, that inspiration that vata people have. So when we recognize what our gifts are, then is not seeing what we don't have, is not seen as an imbalance or something that you lack. It's really who you are. But then life happens. Life happens. There's maybe trauma. There's maybe bad habits. Maybe a way of eating that is not the normal, that what we should have for our constitution. Stress. All sorts of things happen. Life happens. And then we can develop what is called the Vikruti, which is your imbalance. And you have a little picture here just to have an idea. There's a line, Vata, Pitta, Kapha on top. So just below the line, there are 3 columns. When those columns are all below the line, it doesn't matter if one is higher than the other, because this is going to be your Prakruti. This is your constitution. This is your blueprint, your genetical information. But when any of those doshas or energies are higher, they go below that line, then that means that there's an imbalance and there's something that we need to get sorted before it becomes something that gives us more problems. Right. So this is a good question to ask yourself now or whenever you have some time to reflect. And is, why do I want to know my constitution? What is it all this to me? And something I'd like to say is, like, when you know your constitution, first of all, you're open up to choices. Before you just do what everyone does. What your parents told you, what school told you, what the social system, your culture told you. And sometimes things work and sometimes things don't, and then we accept that things are as they are. And that if you get older, it's normal that you put weight on. If you get older, it's normal that you have aches. If you are this way, it's normal that you don't sleep. It's not. And when you know your constitution and you know how to balance your constitution, then what you learn is that there are choices. And health is a choice. And the second reason why it's good, this is from my point of view, is it's just you're able to pick up any imbalance before it becomes a problem. And you can start working on those imbalances. And you are in power. You are in control of your health. And this is the biggest and the greatest gift that any health system can give you, to empower you to be your best care. So just before we go ahead and having all this in mind, maybe it's a good moment as well to think, what's your vision for your health? What do you want? How do you imagine? When you imagine your perfect health, and even if it's allowing yourself to dream, just imagine, what's that health? What do you look like? What does your body look like? How does it feel like? What's your mind like? What are your emotions like? So just take a moment to think, what is that vision? And now I'm going to talk a little bit deeper into the Kapha Pitta Vata, and you'll probably be able to recognize yourself with one of those. So we'll start with Kapha. Lovely Kapha. I really love Kapha. Kapha is the energy of nourishment and cohesion. The elements that we've seen before are water and earth. And physically, somebody who is predominantly Kapha, normally they have a larger head, bigger bone structure, big frame, big, lovely, beautiful eyes. They have strong muscles if earth is predominant, but you can have a Kapha person with more water, and are those people that they're so nice to cuddle because they're really soft and really loving people. Normally Kapha people are amazing. They're so loving and caring that they gather people. They're like glue. They're the glue in a home. They gather people around, and they are people that are very present. They're very grounded. They're very loyal. They're very steady. And this is all the Prakruti is. This is all when they are imbalanced. This is your superpower when you are a Kapha person. And when out of balance, then people with Kapha can be feeling depressed, complacent, feeling heavy, lethargic, they can be stagnation, they can be sinus problems. So when we saw that kapha sits mainly in the lungs, so if kapha energy goes bigger and goes up, then it goes all the way up and can create congestion like asthma as well in the lungs, and it can go all the way to the sinuses. Water retention, if you're a kapha woman and you have when you suffer with PMS, you might feel, and that also goes for menopause as well, with kapha people out of balance can feel brain fog or depression, feeling down, and all this water. And then suddenly, you know, when you're on your period, you can be 3-4 kilos heavier, and then everything goes afterwards. So that all this water retention. What do we need to do if we are a kapha person, kapha dosha mainly, or kapha imbalance? How do we balance out? So detox programs twice a year to lose that kapha, to rekindle the acne, the fire, the digestive fire that we talked about in the previous one, in the previous webinar. In terms of exercise, that is, you know, it's very interesting because kapha people normally, they will go, in terms of yoga, they would go to yin classes, which yin is amazing, but kapha people need vinyasa. they need strong, and they need very hardening and cardio. They are the ones who can take it, but you won't see many kapha people in those classes. Normally what you see is pitta people, and then they just burn themselves, and vata people who use up all their energy and they left with nothing. But kapha people, they can balance out with exercise first thing in the morning in the kapha time. So from 6 in the morning, getting up really early and having an earlier lighter dinner. And that also is very important. And with and detoxifying as well. So this is your kapha. So if we move to pitta, pitta is fire and water. So that means that the energy of pitta is the energy of transformation. Very strong people, very strong in the mind as well. The gunas, the qualities, are hot, are oily, sharp, intense, and they have amazing digestion. They can eat, you know, pretty much what they want, and they will digest everything. They're very good metabolism. They are hungry people, so don't get in their way when they're really hungry and they need to eat, or they'll get very angry and irritable. They do need to eat. You know, kapha, they might feel that they want to eat because of the emotional attachment to food and the pleasure, the sense of pleasure. But pitta wants to eat because they need to eat. They really metabolize very, very quickly. Emotionally, they're very focused. They're very the people who thrive. They can be very intense, and they can be very opinionated. So if somebody asks, oh, where shall we go for dinner tonight? The kaphas will say, yeah, whatever, I'm easy. And the pittas will know exactly where they want to go and where they don't want to go. And they tend to be right all the time. So this is the pitta personality. So that intensity, sometimes it can get them in trouble because it can create stress, burnout. It can be so focused that stop seeing other amazing things that are happening and opportunities around. And they can have problems related with the small intestine and with the liver. When we saw that picture of the body and where the doshas sit with pitta, we have that the pitta dosha lives in the stomach and the small intestine. So when there's too much, if the energy is upwards, it's going to create reflux and acidity. When it goes downwards, then it can create diarrhea. And any issue related to heat and inflammation, like infections, skin problems, this is all related to pitta. If you think of a part of the body that is very pitta as well, is the red blood cells. Look at all the iron, all the fire, the red color of those cells. And the red blood cells are so important for your oxygenation and transformation, and the metabolism that happens in that breathing. And we know that the red blood cells, they all circulate to the liver in order to be cleansed or destroyed when they need to be, and then they just go back with the oxygenated blood, etc. So if there's lots of heat, if the Pitta dosha is very high, what is going to happen is that in time, the liver can be too much. It can be too much, can be very toxic for the liver. And even for somebody who doesn't drink too much, that can cause cirrhosis of the liver as well, just for being very high Pitta. And when it's not taken, when it's not balanced out. For women, both with PMS or on periods, or also menopause, anything to do, for anything to do with hormones and periods, etc. So for Pitta women, caffeine and alcohol is really not good. It's going to aggravate any symptom. And normally Pitta people like and love coffee and all these things. It can give eye problems as well, and bloodshot eyes, and problems with vision as well. That is all very Pitta. Right, and then we have the lovely Vata. So Vata is ether, is air, and you can imagine that the qualities of a Vata person is being light and mobile and dry, cold. People don't have too much fat, don't have too much muscle and in the body. However, I must say, all doshas can be overweight. Not only Kaphas, even though Kapha has a tendency for overweight, Vata can have a tendency as well. The difference is that a Vata person who is overweight will look a little bit funny, will look like the weight goes to some specific parts, and some parts are really slim and other parts you have all the fat there, while a Kapha person, sometimes it's difficult to say if they put weight or not, because everything distributes very lovely in the whole of the body. So it is more difficult to pinpoint at first. So the people with Vata constitutions, skin-wise, they tan very easily. Pitta get very red, for example. And the people who can be very, very tall or very small, and they can have maybe, when you look at the facial features, the things like don't match, like maybe a big nose but a small lips, or a big, but it looks all very artistic and nice, but or the teeth are out of place. So that sounds like really horrible what I'm explaining, but actually Vata people are very attractive because they're very special looking. And the people who are so inspirational, people who are so fun to be around, they get easily excited, they're very flexible, they can be very spiritual because there's so much ether, they can be so in touch with energy, and they are great artists. But poor Vata people is the hardest dosha to stay healthy. And that's because the energy, when there's lots of space and there's lots of air, the energy moves and disperses so much that cannot focus when it needs healing, they're not grounded people. They really need to work very hard for grounding, and for this they need to have very regular routines. Everyone needs regular routines because our bodies are part of nature and they are designed this way. But for other constitutions, they can get away with it if they are in balance, but Vata, they really need to follow very regular routines. They can lose weight very easily, they lose sleep very easily, the physical body gets less stable for anything. They're very sensitive, high sensitive people, immune system can fall apart, and then all sorts of things can happen. So Vata is the number one dosha that we need to have always under control. It sits in the colon, so when it's out of balance, it can give gas, constipation, malabsorption. If you feel there's a lot of gas, this is a Vata imbalance, definitely. It can go to the mind and create worry and anxiety. And that feeling, if you've ever had that feeling, I know I have, of the world spinning out of control, then so that is actually Vata out of control. And in terms of periods, it gives lots of cramps and pain, and something really nice to balance Vata, and their digestion is not that great, is 30 minutes before food is having a tea made just a little bit, not too much liquid, but made of cumin seed, coriander, and fennel seeds. And that can really help. And then how do we balance the doshas? Because something I want to say is that even if you Vikruti, your Prakruti, your constitution, let's say you're a Kapha person, that doesn't mean that your imbalance is going to be Kapha. You have more tendency to have a Kapha imbalance, but you can be a Kapha person with a Vata imbalance. You can be a Pitta person with a Kapha imbalance. So that's the two things that we look in consultations. We look at what your constitution is, your blueprint, but we look at your imbalance. And if your imbalance is Vata, which many people who live in this type of society that we live have this type of imbalance, we are going to treat you as if you were a Vata person, taking into account not to disrupt the other doshas, but we'll treat always the imbalance. So don't worry too much about what am I, because sometimes it takes a long time to find out. Sometimes the imbalance has been there for such a long time that has become us, and it's so difficult to go inwards and to really know. Sometimes it takes detox, and your real you appears and say, wow, I'm not the stressed person everyone thinks I was, or I thought I was. I'm actually a very calm person. That was my imbalance. And this is the magic of this Ayurvedic journey. And just, before I carry on, I just wanted to say, because there's 4 minutes left, I'm going to finish the presentation, but after that, I'll stop the recording. Probably I'll disappear, but don't go anywhere, because I'll come back and we'll have a Q&A session if you have any question, and then we'll say goodbye. So even if I disappear, don't go away, I'll come back. Right, so how do we balance the doshas with the qualities? Knowing this inner knowing, this intuition. Well, if I feel a little bit all over the place, I need grounding things. If I feel cold, I need warm things. And that is food, experiences, type of exercise, type of people, relationships as well. Kapha people, for example, need Vata and Pitta because they need a little bit of a spark that they might not have. Food is medicine, so there's a different way of eating and balancing depending on your dosha and your imbalance. And this is something that needs to be explored a little bit further, but there's some resources out there that can be checked. Exercise, the different types of exercise for different doshas as well. Dinacharya or daily routine, and as I said, this is very important. It is vital for Vata, but it's very important for absolutely every dosha. And doing 2 or 3 detox programs a year, and this is something I personally do every single year. But even if you don't take this any further, but you want to start doing, just ask yourself every morning when you wake up, how do I feel and what do I need? Before you prepare your food, how do I feel? How is my body and what do I need? Look at the weather. If it's very cold outside, just don't have very cold food. Don't have raw food. If you're digesting, is start opening up to what you really feel and your intuition. And that is what I'd like to work with people, to help them connect with themselves and know exactly what they need to look after. So this is what I'll be doing at the end of March, and it's the 3-week online Ayurveda detox. And I will be telling you a little bit more now when I disappear and I come back again into the Q&A, and I can give you all the different explanations of what we are about to do. So I think, this is all. I'll leave the information for the replay. All will be there. But thank you so much, and namaste. And please don't go away if you are alive, because I'm coming back. So see you in a second. And maybe you can start setting your videos on. Thank you very much.